can't lead around the world and talk to them about rule of law if you've got some young man who got involved in a fist fight and behaved terribly and should have been expelled, but are charged with attempted murder when student living gets off with no prison time. We don't need student living justice in America, and we can't expect to lead if we had that. We can't lead unless we deal with the immigration problem. We've been yelling here 8 or 9 times. Okay, I'm going to talk about Mexico. We can't lead unless we are able to deal with the issue of immigration here in a just way. We are a nation of laws and we are a nation of immigrants. And those two things are not contradictory. America has a right to protect its borders. There's nothing wrong with that. But America has a right to protect its borders, and there's nothing wrong with it. And there is nothing wrong with making sure that those who are working in America are able to work here legally. But what we also have to recognize is that we have always been a nation of immigrants. And we can create a pathway to citizenship for those who are locked in the shadows here in America. And by doing that, we show the world that we are a nation that is made up of many people and many traditions. And that has always been our strength. That has always been what has made America a bright and shining light to the world. And that is what we can be again. I am confident in my capacity to lead this nation. I would not be running if I didn't think I could. I believe the day I am sworn in that America looks at itself differently and the world looks at America differently. I believe that as somebody who is not a baby boomer and wasn't brought out of, not coming out of the battles of the 60s, that instead of looking backwards, I can help the country start to look forward. But what I also know is I can't do these things by myself. You know, I am reminded every single day of my life, if not by events, then by my life, but I am not a perfect man. And I am not going to be a perfect president. But what I can promise you is this. I can always tell you what I think. I will always tell you where I stand. I will be honest with you about the challenges we face. Because we won't solve them if I just give you a bunch of political talk. I will listen to you even when we disagree, and we're going to disagree sometimes on issues. Most importantly, I will wake up every single day in the White House thinking about how can I make your lives a little bit better.
Wonderful.
And how can I open up our government so that you can participate in our democracy again. I want you to leave this not just saying, well, that was a nice speech, that was a nice afternoon. I want you to say to yourselves, how can I get involved? How can I be engaged? How can I sign up as a foot soldier for this movement for change? How can you get involved in the campaign? How can you knock on doors? How can you make phone calls? How can you recruit your friends and neighbors? How can you contact your parents and your grandparents and your aunts and your uncles? How can we energize the entire country around you? And if you are doubtful about the power of your voice to bring about change, I'm going to end with a real quick story. I was in South Carolina. Because South Carolina is an early state. And I was campaigning there, and I was in a legislative banquet. And I was the keynote speaker, but I was first, before I spoke, I was sitting next to the state representative, and I really wanted the state representative's endorsement. So I said to the state representative, I want your endorsement. And she looked at me and she said, Obama, I will give you my endorsement if you come to my hometown of Greenwood, South Carolina. And I must have had a glass of wine or something, because right away I just said, okay. No questions asked. Turns out that Greenwood, South Carolina is an hour and a half from every place else. So the next time I fly into South Carolina, it's about a month later. And we can come in late. I've been campaigning for 2 weeks straight. I'm really exhausted. And I get to the hotel room about 12:30, and I'm going into my room. My staff taps me on the shoulder and says, Senator, you got to be in the car at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. I said, why? They said, you got to go to Greenwood, South Carolina, like you promised. I said, you're right, I promise. So the next morning I wake up and I am just feeling beat, just battered, bruised. I stagger out of bed. I open up the shades to the hotel room window, and it's pouring down right outside, miserable looking in. I get some coffee and I start reading the newspaper. There's a bad story about me in the New York Times. I go downstairs. After I pack, I go downstairs, my umbrella blows open, and I get drenched. It's not wet, I'm sleepy, and I'm mad. And we get in the car and we start driving. We drive and we drive and we drive and we drive. We drive out to Greenwood. And finally we get there, although you don't know you're in Greenwood right away because there are no tall buildings there. It's all fields, and you run alongside a park, there's a little building, and we go inside the building, and after this hour and a half drive, lo and behold, there are only 20 people there. 20 people after this hour and a half drive. And they all look like they're kind of damn. And maybe they're not that happy to see me. But, you know, 20 votes is 20 votes, so I'm shaking hands and saying hello to everybody. Suddenly, behind me, I hear this voice. Fire up! And I'm startled, but the other 20 people from Greenwood in the room, they all act like this is normal. I talked to my staff, I said, are you fired up? They said, I'm fired up, Paul. You ready to go? I said, I'm ready to go. And it goes to show you how one voice can change the mood of the room. And if one voice can change the room, then it can change a city. And if it can change a city, it can change a state. And if it can change a state, it can change a country. And if it can change a country, it can change the world. And so the question I'm not going to say is you